I am a person, and this is how we got the character 人 representing a person. Now I'm stretching my arms so that I look big, and we get the character 大, which means big. My arms are falling down a little bit, so now I look small, and we get the character 小, which means small. But what happens if we put 小 above 大? Stick around to find out. Welcome to Learn Chinese Mandarin with Peter. Today, we'll explore Chinese characters in a fun and interesting way. You will understand them better, learn faster, and change your mindset. Join me on this fascinating journey and let's dive in. Actually, Chinese characters initially were pictographs. From pictographs to modern characters, they have undergone a fascinating transformation. The first stage is the pictographic stage, dating back to around 1400 BC. Pictographs are the earliest form of Chinese characters, representing objects by drawing their shapes. For example, this is a mountain. Through the evolution of the pictograph, we get the character 山, which means mountain. This is a field, a farmland divided into 4 parts. The evolution of this pictograph gives us the character 田, representing farmland. This is the sun. In the ancient pictograph, the circle represents the sun, and the dot inside represents the light. This evolved into the character 日, representing the sun. Now that we've talked about the sun, let's move on to the moon. This is the moon. The ancient pictographs of its shape evolved into the character 月, representing the moon. Just look at the fire and compare it with the character 火. You can see the resemblance. Here we have a tree with green leaves and a brown trunk. The trunk is wood, right? This is how we get the character 木, representing wood. The character 人 is also a pictograph, derived from the shape of a person. There are only about 264 pictographs representing objects by their shapes. But obviously, this was not enough to cover all concepts. So, around 1100 BC, we moved to the ideographic stage. In this stage, additional syllables were added to pictographs to represent abstract concepts. Here is the pictograph 人 representing a person. So, what if I stretch my arms? Now I look big, right? So we get the character 大 to represent the abstract concept of big. Then, what if my arms fall down a little bit? Now I look small. So we get the character 小 to represent the abstract concept of small. And what if I put the character 小 above 大? Just imagine an object with a large base and a small top. Yes, we get the character 尖, which means sharp. Back to the character 大, what if I add one more dot here to 大? Just imagine, what could be more than big? It's too big, right? So we get the character 太, which means too much. If you combine them together, we get the phrase 太大, which means too big. Of course, you can combine 太 and 小 to get phrase 太小, which means too small. Back to the character 大, what if I add one stroke here above the character 大? Just look at the picture. What is above my head? Yes, it's the blue sky. So we get the character 天 representing the sky. Another example, this is a table, and we use one stroke to represent the surface. If we place one dot above the surface, we get the character 上, representing the concept above. Of course, if we place one dot below the surface, we get the character 下, which represents the concept below. Another simple example, one stroke is 一, which represents 1. Two strokes is 二, which represents 2. Three strokes is 3, which represents 3. In the ideographic stage, there are about 129 ideographs. However, this was still not sufficient to represent all concepts. So, we move to the third stage, the compound ideographic stage. In this stage, compound ideographs combine two or more pictographs to create new meanings. Just look at this picture. We just learned these two pictographs, 日 and 月, representing the sun and the moon. So, what if we combine the pictographs 日 and 月 together? We get the character 明. Can you guess what it means? 日 means the sun, daytime, and 月 means the moon, nighttime. After a day and night, we get tomorrow, right? So the character 明 means tomorrow. Back to the character 人 representing a person. This is how we got the person radical, which means something related to a person. So, what if we combine the person radical and the character mu? We just learned that mu represents wood. Just imagine it. A person is leaning against a tree to rest. This is how we got the character 休, which means rest. Back to the character 人 again. I'm gonna give you some interesting examples. Now, I believe all of you can remember 人 means a person. So, how about two persons? One follows the other. Yes, we get the character 从, which means follow. Then, how about three persons? There are more and more, from 1 to 3. Then we get the character 众 to represent a crowd. Okay, back to the character mu, which means wood. Then how about double mu? Yes, we get the character 林 with more trees to represent the woods. So how about triple mu? Now we get the character 生 with more and more trees to represent the forest. Very cool, right? In this stage, there are over 1,000 compound ideographs. However, this was still not sufficient to represent all concepts. So we move to the next stage, the Phono-Semantic stage, around the 3rd century BC. Phono-semantic characters combine a semantic element with a phonetic element. The semantic part is the radical of the Chinese character, which provides the meaning, and the phonetic element gives us a clue about the pronunciation. Here, I'm drawing a river. I believe you can recognize this as a river. This is how it's simplified into 3-dot radical, or you can call it 3 drops water radical. It is the semantic element for meanings related to water. The right part is the character 可. It's a phonetic element that gives us a clue about the pronunciation. When we combine these two elements, we get the character 和, which means river. Of course, we have many characters with the 3-dot radical related to water, such as the character 湖, which means lake, 海 means sea, 流 means flow, and 清 means clear. Now that we've discussed the 3-dot radical, let's talk about the 2-dot radical. You might be wondering why there is 1 dot less than 3 dots. Because the missing dot is frozen. Yes, it's very interesting, but it makes sense because the 2-dot radical is related to code. Here, I'm gonna give you a few examples so that you can understand better. This is the character 动 with the 2-dot radical for the meaning of code, and the phonetic part 动, which gives us the pronunciation clue. So we get the character 动, which means frozen. The next character is 冰, which means ice. The character 冷 means cold. The next character is 凉, which means cool. Yes, it's pretty cool for this radical, right? After the 2-dot radical, I'd like to introduce another related radical, the 4-dot radical. Wow, the dots are increasing. How does this happen? You might have already noticed in the picture on the left side. Yes, the ice is melting, which is how we get more dots. It really makes sense, because the 4-dot radical is related to heat. I'm gonna give you a few examples with the 4-dot radical. This is the character 热, which means hot. The character 煮 means boil. Another character 蒸 means steam. And the character 煎 means fry. All of these are related to heat, right? It's fascinating to note that almost 80% Chinese characters are phono-semantic, which combine a semantic element with a phonetic element. By recognizing these elements, you can decode the meaning and pronunciation of many characters. When learning Chinese characters, try to understand them through their shapes, radicals, and phonetic elements, instead of memorizing every single stroke. This way, you can learn faster and easier. If you want to learn more, please subscribe, hit the like button, and share. Your support will help me create more videos faster. See you next time.